Hello and welcome everyone, my name is Captain Frost and today we're going to be looking at a Spectral Shield Throw champion build that is definitely a good league starter, that is definitely, it has a bunch of damage, it is very high potential build, it has pretty good clear, it is very tanky, even with not high budget, it can have hundreds of thousands of effective hit pool. It is quite reliable. You definitely can get more invested into this build with some currency added to it. And today we're going to be looking at how to build this character, how to go right with your decisions when it comes to talents, when it comes to skills, when it comes to items, where can you maybe get some cheaper ones, and everything like that. We're gonna definitely check every mechanic and detail of the build, how it works, why some mechanics are preferred instead of others. Yeah, I guess let's go to the pub, and here we can see all the different numbers of this build, and this build relies quite heavily on Emperor's Vigilance in order to have this big chunky damage, this big crits as well. But you don't really need it. It is still a smooth league starter without such an item. It is a smooth league starter without Ashes of the Stars as well. That's just a very good, convenient items that give you a bunch of power, just a lot of power. But yeah, you can definitely go go with it without it, and yeah, it's good with leveling. You're gonna be feeling fine. It has very high smooth defenses. We have a bunch of block chance, we have spell block, we have spell suppression capped, we have very big amounts of armor and evasion rating, and if you can get your chaos resistance even higher, then your effective hit pool will go even further beyond. Yeah, so that is just a very reliable tanky character which you can play through any content and feel good about yourself. So we're gonna start with talent tree. We're gonna quickly run down all the talents and stats that you want to prefer on talent tree. Maybe if you was to a bit swap it up for yourself, maybe if you want to understand why are we taking different parts and different things here. Then we're gonna go for jewels that are placed in the talent tree, then for skills and items at the end. So we're starting as this duelist, and we are playing as champion. With our ascendancy, we're taking first strike, last to fall, which gives us adrenaline. It gives us life recovery. It gives us intimidation of enemies on hit. Then we're taking inspirational, which frees some mana for us. It gives us a bunch of different buffs in terms of increasing effect of non-cursed auras that we're utilizing quite heavily. Then we're going for Unstoppable Hero that gives us a bunch of flat armor and evasion rating and some speed and immunity to stun. And we're taking Fortitude in order for us to always have 20 fortification, and that's just a very convenient way to defend yourself against incoming hits. And then with our regular talent tree, we're going more for maximum life, your evasion rating and armor increases, your damage with shield, your attack damage while holding shield, chance to block, some projectile damage, some projectile speed. We're getting a bit of attack leech as life and as mana, because we need to sustain ourselves, and with our DPS we don't really need too much of that. Then we're going for we're grabbing onslaught, and again more evasion and onslaught generation on kill, more evasion and armor. We're going for as much cold damage oriented passives as possible. As you can see here, we're taking cold penetration, cold damage, some conversion additionally as well. Then we're going for clusters, that's going to be shown a bit later. Some life against suppression, which is very powerful defensive mechanism. More projectile damage, projectile deal more deal increased damage as they travel further. more projectile speed, which means that you're gonna cover more ground with your skills. Then again, some crit strike chance and multiplier for your projectile attacks. More crit, just jewel slots, jewel sockets, I mean. Then more life, some suppression again, additional elemental penetration and elemental damage. Then suppression, life, evasion rating increase. Like 100% we're taking all the mana reservation efficiency that we can possibly get. Then a bit of mark talents. So marked enemies take more damage, and they have reduced accuracy rating. Yeah, so we have here our frenzy charge generation from you hitting your marked enemies. A bit of additional mana reservation efficiency from this to mana talents. Even though the mana talents themselves are not really that useful for us, we're still gonna appreciate mana reservation efficiency that goes from the mastery. Then we're taking Ghost Dance, a bit of increase to life, and more mana reservation efficiency. Yeah, so everything is quite obvious and straightforward here. There's not too much of different shenanigans and hard mechanics to understand when it comes to your talent tree. Now let's go for our probably regular jewels first, then we'll go for the cluster ones, and then we're gonna go for the skills. So we're taking Seething Fury, and that's a very, very powerful thing that we have here, especially with Emperor's Vigilance that has just a bunch of energy shield on it. So as you can see here, we have 0.15% to offhand critical strike chance per 10 maximum energy shield on shield, and plus 4% to offhand critical strike multiplier per 10 maximum energy shield as well. So it's baseline crit and it's crit multi, which are very, very powerful tools here, and we're gonna stack our crit multi even further. As you can see here, we have 500% multiplier, which is massive. So this was one of our first regular jewels that are not socketed in our cluster jewels, and the second one is our timeless jewel. It's brutal restraint. So passives and trades are conquered by the Maraket and in the Akara of Nazima. And as you can see here, we just have a bunch of additional dexterity, increases to our non-curse aura effects. We have duration of elements is not that required. Additional maximum life. And some elemental damage as well. So that's just a good place for you to have your timeless jewel on, because you have a bunch of talents picked up here and they will all receive some additional properties, and that's gonna be useful, especially for a 2-pointer. And then we do have our cluster jewels. So we're gonna go for the first one. It's attacks damage while you're holding a shield. As you can see, we're taking the cluster jewel with as less as possible small talent points, because we're not really interested in them. We're interested in these big chunky ones. So it's martial prowess, additional attack speed, accuracy, attack damage, strike leader, chance to block, and some additional increase to damage, and veteran defender, which gives us additional elemental resistances while you're holding a shield, which will be useful for you to have less space, to have more space open on your just equipment, some attributes, and additional defenses. And with jewel slot, we see here Ancestral Vision modifiers to chance to suppress spell damage also apply to chance to avoid elemental ailments at 50% of their value, which means that with our almost 100%, or even if you're gonna have 100%, that's even better. You will have 50% chance to avoid elemental ailments with this jewel only. And then with our cluster, second cluster jewel, we do have indeed pretty much the same stuff. So again, chance to block, spell damage, attack damage, increases to attack damage, and martial prowess again. With jewel slots we're taking here, one of them should be corrupted with implicit of you being invulnerable, or I mean immune to corrupted blood applied to you. That's your corrupted implicit that you want on at least one of your rare jewels. And here we see here with just modifiers, it's some resistances, some attack damage, nothing extraordinary here. And with Watcher's Eye, we see here it's 30% of his damage converted to cold damage while affected by hatred, and damage penetrates some lightning resistance, which probably is not really that important for us, because if you were to look at our calculations, we're not really dealing too much lightning damage to our enemies. We're mostly dealing cold, fire. Yeah, so this is the case with our build. And I guess now we're gonna go for the skill gems. So yeah, with our skill gems, you see here we have Divergent. Oh no, wait a second. I'm a bit wrong here. So we're starting with our Spectral Shield Throw, which is a phantasmal alternative quality. It's 20% to critical strike multiplier per 100% maximum energy shield on shield, and that is very powerful, especially with us using Ashes of the Stars, which gives us 30% to quality of all skill gems, and this is gonna reflect in even more crit multi, because with our shield that is quite heavily energy shield based. Then we're taking Fork, Trinity, Divergent Trinity in this case. We're taking Vicious Projectiles, Elemental damage with attacks, and Inspiration, so everything's quite basic, more elemental damage, more projectile damage, some Fork in order for your AoE, Trinity, yeah, that's just the basic stuff. Then with some of our reservation, we see here that we're taking Defiance Banner and Precision, and we're yeah, and as you can see, we're powering some of them with your Arrogance, and our unreserved life is gonna be only 91%, but that's still not gonna take a huge hit on our effective HP. It's still gonna be massive, we're still gonna be very tanky, and this way you can just take more different reservation things, especially with Precision. Reserving flat mana would be very inconvenient, and you wouldn't be able to use it on full levels. And with this way you can do that, because yeah, you're just reserving a bit of your HP, and you do have a bunch of that. It's not like you have 900 mana and you're reserving 200 of them. Yeah, then with our just regular blinks and our movement skills, we have Shield Charge, we have Frost Blink. Frost Blink is your fast and forward dodge ability. Shield Charge is just for you to zoom through maps. We have Sniper's Mark, and Mark on Hit, which will just increase our damage. We do have talents on marks. We will generate our Frenzy Charges through it. Then we have our second, partly reservation, partly just buffs sockets. So it's Blood and Sand, which gives us damage. Then we have, and as you can see, it is anomalous, so increased projectile speed while in Sand stance, increased projectile attack damage while in Blood stance, so it's even better for us. Then we have Berserk. We are generating rage with our gloves, and with Berserk you can just use your skill and have very big damage boost damage and defensive boost for a small amount of time. Then we have Ancestral Protector, which is again phantasmal, increased effect of the buff, so it's your attack speed buff. It's just a regular stuff with totems and melee nowadays. Then we see our Corrupting Fever with Life Tap and Val Molten Shell, which serves us as our main defensive ability. Especially with the amounts of armor that we have. Mortals Molten Shell will be very, very powerful. And here we have our main big chunky mana reservation skills that you can't really squeeze in if you don't have enough mana reservation efficiency on the talent trees and maybe on some gear as well. So first is Determination. Determination and Grace is just the go-to auras for champion. It's main reason why are you so tanky in the first place. And then we have Hatred, which will convert some of our fizz damage in cold damage thanks to our Watcher's Eye. Then it gives us additional extra cold damage as extra cold damage from your fizz damage, and then you're dealing more cold damage as well. It is powered up by Enlighten, but it's not even level 4 by itself, but it has +1 level on gloves. Yeah, and then we're gonna go for our items here. So our weapon is not so relevant like directly in terms of our damage. It's just a stat stick basically. It has some stats, even like intelligence, as you can see, for you to be for you to have easier getting on to that stat cap that you need for your skills to work. Then it has some it has some damage penetration. It has extra damage as cold, which is very important, and it has some conversion. The rest of the damage, as you can see here, we're converting some of our fizz damage with talents on the tree, then with Watcher's Eye, and then with this scepter it's gonna be 100%, and we're not gonna need to think about how to convert damage even more. And then we have just additional increased cold damage. So our main weapon, that is directly our weapon, is Emperor's Vigilance. It is very powerful shield, and you need to have a good rolls on it in order to maximize profits from it. So you have chance to block spell damage instead of regular. You have your additional chance to spell damage in rolls here. Then you have this massive increase to armor and energy shield, which will give you all that damage and all that sweet crit multi from our like alternative quality gem. Then you have damage taken. I'm so sorry. Damage taken from blocked hits cannot bypass energy shield. Damage taken from unblocked hits always bypasses energy shield. And we have glancing blows, which means that this block chance and spell block chance is effectively twice as low, but it smooths out the damage that you're getting, that enemy dealing to you with this higher chance. But the damage itself, you're not gonna block incoming hits completely. You're just gonna block them. You're gonna block 45% of their damage. Yeah, it should be 45. With our unique helmet that gives us a bunch of damage as well. We have Hit Shiver. It gives us resistances, which is nice and all. It has Enchant from Labyrinth with Spectral Shield Throw, fires 3 additional shard projectiles. But the main things here are the unique effects with gaining additional cold damage as extra fire damage per chill effect on enemy, and gaining additional cold damage as extra fire against frozen enemies. That is your damage increases from this unique helmet that you are after. Then with body armor, we have heavy evasion rating. Body armor that gives us a chance to suppress spell damage, which is very good, and we should try to cap it. We have some flat region here, some resistances as well, but that's, as you can see, it's not by any means, it's not a heavily and like crazy rolled chest piece here, so you can definitely get better one. This character, if you were not to count all the unique stuff that's on it, it's reasonably priced, and you definitely can start a league with the build. You just wouldn't have a bunch of damage from your later pieces, but you can 100% quite easily farm for them on lower to mid tier maps, and even higher ones with some like budget stuff that you can get for yourself while you're getting to the items that you need. With the gloves, we're using unique glove scam spirit that give us rage generation. So with this flat regeneration of life. We're applying it to our rage instead. So instead of us having a life regeneration, we have rage regeneration, 1 rage per second for every 100 life recovery from regeneration. And here we have 3.2 rage regeneration per second, and that's just gonna be enough for you to have it and to use Berserk and feel comfortable and have all the buffs from the rage, all the damage that you can get from that. So yeah, that's the main point of these gauntlets. They do give you some additional like life resistance, and we have an implicit here +1 to level of socketed gems. Then with our boots, we see here we do have some additional flat damage if you've killed recently, some chance to avoid elemental ailments. You probably want, if you can, if your budget gives you such a choice, you can get immune to elemental ailments, which are shock, freeze, and ignite. And this is gonna be good. And then we have chance to freeze, chance to suppress spell damage again, some resistances, additional chance to avoid elemental ailments, some life, and some movement speed. If you there are some ways for you not to take talents for onslaught generation on kill. You can take it here on boots and have it have that modifier on boots, then free yourself a bit of talent points. That it all is up for you to you. This character is by any means not a completely maxed out spectral shield throw champion. And then we have our unique amulet, Ashes of the Stars, that is quite expensive, and you can live without it just fine. You can get yourself just rare amulet that gives you crit multiplier, crit strike chance, global crit strike chance, that gives you a bunch of stats, some resistances, maybe some flat damage, maybe some increased elemental damage with attack skills, and then you're gonna be fine. That amulet will give you a bunch of damage as well. So this is your, it allocates Vengeance Cascade, and Vengeance Cascade, it's an anointment only talent. It's a, it is very popular this league, so it gives you attack projectiles return to you, returning projectiles pierce all targets, and that effectively multiplies your damage. Just very, very good, and you do have a bunch of extra damage out of nowhere with this thing being anointed on your amulet. So anoint, I definitely encourage you to have, and it's not as pricey as some other unique parts on the build. Then with our rings, we just have regular rings that give us a bunch of resistance, some increased elemental damage with skills, life, maybe some as you can see here, there's even some evasion rating. And we have some additional non-channeling skills have -7 to total mana cost. We do have 8% unreserved mana though, so we're not as strict on our mana cost of the skill. You can have these modifiers on your both rings, which will decrease your mana cost of Spectral Shield throw even more, and you will you can reserve more mana. You can have less mana reservation efficiency that way, but it's not mandatory at all. There's again some resistances, some elemental damage as well. You can use the taming that gives you just a bunch of elemental damage and a bunch of elemental resistances. The more a league progresses, the lower the costs on those rings, because they are kinda medium rings that all the people who have a bunch of money already, they are not really using them. It's just a cheap alternative for you to get your character going, have a bunch additional damage out of nowhere, and still getting some elemental resistances as well. So with belt we have here Perseverance. And it gives us a bunch of armor, evasion rating, life, resistance, some attack damage per 200 of the lowest of armor and evasion rating, which is very, very powerful for us, because we do have indeed 70,000 armor and evasion rating with our flasks up, which is just massive. And this is your end. You have onslaught while fortified, which means that forget everything that I've with this onslaught stuff on the talent tree, I was talking about it when you don't have your perseverance, but if you do have, then you will always benefit from these talent points. And they are gonna be, yeah, they're just gonna be constant on you. You have onslaught while fortified, and you're fortified always. And then with our flasks, we have Divine Flask with immunity to bleeding. We have some Granite. Jade Flask is just regular stuff that you can get here. We do have a high crit chance, which means that you can refill your potion flasks with crit strikes, with chance of getting additional charges on your crit strikes. And this is gonna be a more efficient way for you to have flask uptime, but it all depends on you wanting to invest in flasks or not. It's not that expensive either. So we have diamond flasks for additional crit strike chance increase, and Quicksilver for additional movement speed. Yeah, and just additional regeneration can give you additional rage generation as well. So yeah, and as you can see here, we have a generation of flask charges with our crits. So yeah, that's mostly it. That is kinda it. Yeah, that's the character itself. Is it's easy to set up. It's easy to get going. It's tanky. Your mistakes that you will make on this character are gonna be forgiven quite often, and it's easy to play. It's quite enjoyable. You can play it on SSF without problems. You don't really need all this unique gear for you to go comfortable on the character. Yeah, if you like content like this, then definitely subscribe to the channel. Hope you're having a good day. You're enjoying playing PoE or whatever. Yeah, thanks for watching, and goodbye.